Lights on. It's time to start Curb Cuts.
Curb Cuts is produced by the Central Coast Assistive Technology Center, made possible by donations from Cal Poly CPTV and Slow Public Access, funded by grants from the Christopher Reeve Foundation, Go Forward, the San Luis Obispo County Community Foundation, For Good Forever, and the California Endowment, increasing access to healthcare for all Californians. Curb Cuts is also sponsored by Mac Superstore. And now, Curb Cuts.
Welcome to another episode of Curb Cuts. I'm John Lee and Technology Center. And today's episode is focusing on vehicle modifications. Now, you may have heard of the show MTV's Pimp My Ride. We're doing a little different twist. You might call today's episode Gimp My Ride. And I can use the word GIMP because I'm disabled myself, but just a little play on words there. And we'll be talking a lot about how to make vehicles accessible and adapted to individuals' needs.
We're here in San Luis Obispo today at Adapted Driving Systems to kind of show a lot of the different ways that vehicles can be modified and that individuals with disabilities might be able to use vehicles. And then later in the show, we're going to introduce you to a very good friend of ours, Fernando Ramirez, who is a user of a vehicle that has been modified here at Adapted Driving. So thanks for coming.
I'm here with Jerry Villa, who is one of the owners, along with her husband Johnny, and we're right in front of one of the minivans. Is this one of the more common modifications that you do?
Nowadays, we can lower the floor in a minivan, adding additional inches. So if you're sitting in a chair and traveling, you can stay remaining in your chair and travel.
Great.
Power door that opens.
And you've got a little keyless remote there that you can operate that?
Yeah. Inside, there's two front seats put on these removable bases that you can take out and store one of them out if you want to travel in a wheelchair, either in the front passenger or drive. We don't decide who drives, but through a driving evaluation, if you are able to drive from your chair, we can put electric tie-downs, add a hand control. So we pretty much make them individually specific for each person's needs.
For the specific hand controls they may need, you guys wouldn't decide that here. You would just order that based on what's recommended by the evaluator.
Yes, if they're already driving with a hand control and they've been driving with a hand control, we try to keep them with what they're used to, what they're comfortable with.
So Jerry, give us an idea for a van that's modified like this and how long it might take for them to get it, from the time that they want it to the time that you can deliver it to them.
We have vans in stock ready for immediate delivery. We have lots. People come from all over the place.
So with some of the seniors that you have coming in, what types of modifications would they be needing? I notice you have some of the hoist lifts.
We call this a stowage lift. This is a lift that has a little trolley. You would open the back hatch, hold on to a handheld pendant, and take this lift, and it would out past the bumper, electrically go down. You could put a wheelchair or a scooter on it, and then electrically come up, electrically go in, and be able to shut the back hatch and then walk from the back of the van to the driving compartment to drive.
So if someone was interested in getting it done to their vehicle, could they come here and have you take a look at their vehicle and see what's going on and what it might take?
Yes. I can't strongly recommend enough to always call us first, because there are so many things that don't work.
So it's not just vehicles, anything that could require transport of a
Getting somebody up.
Mm-hmm.
Porch lifts have become really popular. People want to stay in their home. They can't get up the stairs, so a stair lift works, certainly in that instance.
So Jerry, tell us a little bit about funding for scooters and funding for vans like this. Will Medicare, Medi-Cal cover some of these things? Will they cover the van? Is it usually a private pay situation?
Well, Medi-Cal and Medicare want you to be independent in your home. Any kind of vehicle-related thing, they're not wanting to pay for. Scooters are not as maneuverable inside a house as a power chair, and that's why Medicare and Medi-Cal will pay for a power chair, because it's more maneuverable inside.
Can you explain a little bit about some of the different types of the hand controls that are available and what they do?
Of course.
Kind of move over here.
Of course. This is a basic hand control. It's really straightforward, very, very simple. The way that it would work is, of course, in most cases, people are right-handed. So you'd be having your right hand on the steering wheel. You would push forward and you would be applying the brake, and pulling down, you're applying the accelerator. So it's very simple. If you were going around a corner and you were applying the accelerator and you needed to brake, you could always brake at that time. This is a spinner knob. It's really a nice additional aid when you got your hand on the steering wheel, so you never lose contact with the steering wheel. Left-hand cornering or anything you'd always want. There's an additional driving aids based on different people's needs. There's turn signal extensions. If, let's say, your left side didn't work well and your turn signal's over here, we can make it so your right hand can operate the turn signal.
Jerry, are most cars adaptable to hand controls, or are there certain cars that are not? How does that work?
Almost all vehicles can have a hand control installed.
I've heard like pedal extenders, you do those as well for shorter individuals?
We can. If you need to get further away from the steering wheel, we can extend the pedals out, depending, we do a fitting and base, what you need based on your leg length. Bring the clutch or the brake or the accelerator out to meet your needs. This particular product is what's called a left foot accelerator. And what it does is, if your right leg wasn't working, you can still operate the gas and the brake. You would be moving the accelerator to the left side of the brake. And then you have this cover right here so you can't accidentally hit the existing accelerator. It's very straightforward, very simple. You're pushing on this and it's actually operating through that true accelerator. The brake does not get touched. This plate stays mounted on the floor in the vehicle, and then you can easily remove it just by pulling that pin and sliding that off, so any able-bodied person can get in and drive the car. This is an example of a seat that can turn and come outside of a car. We have it sitting on this base so you can kind of get an idea, but the most popular position is the front passenger position. So in most of the cars that have fairly big front compartments, a Dodge Caravan, Toyota Sienna, Honda Odyssey, usually a minivan of some kind works really well. It does have a manual lever, so you would pull up on this handle. This would be in the front passenger position, so you have a front windshield here and you have a door right here. And once you start your rotation, you can let go of the handle and then swivel it, and at that point it becomes fully electric. It would totally come out, runs off the car's battery. Depending on the car that it's in, if it could go in a truck too, it's very popular in trucks, it would come down 16 inches in a van, or pretty much some SUVs come down 12 inches. So it would come down and you could make a level transfer outside the vehicle. And you can pretty much stop it wherever your transfer works for you, okay? And then transfer on, hold on to the remote, and bring yourself up and into the car.
Very good.
Great.
That's cool.
This is Toyota Sienna. This is probably the #1 most popular van that we sell. The ratings on it make people just want the Sienna. Use the OEM remote control. Just tap it once, the door will open. It's probably the fastest conversion in the industry. It does everything fast.
Cool.
See your height inside there. On this particular chassis, has the most height of all of the minivans if you were to sit tall. Sure works well.
For transfers?
You can. We can put a different base. It's called a transfer base. And mount that OEM. You get to keep that seat and put it on a base that lets it be able to track back and swivel 90 degrees. You'd be transferring kind of in the center of the van then, and the seat would be turned for you. And then you'd transfer onto it, swivel it forward, track it forward, and drive away with the hand control.
We'd like to introduce you to Fernando Ramirez, who's here with his sign language interpreter, Joe Militia. And Fernando's going to talk to you a little bit about his van and some of the vehicle modifications that he has. So thanks for being on our show, Fernando. Tell us a little bit about yourself and give viewers a little bit of a background.
Okay, my name is Fernando Ramirez. I live here in San Luis Obispo, and I'm paralyzed. I got the van in Santa Maria, and I got the information about driving from Adaptive Driving Systems. It took about 2 or 3 months, but I can drive wherever I want to go. Like I go to school, going to college, anywhere I want to go, I can. And one time I even drove to Las Vegas with my friend. That was a long trip, wow. But it's just given me so much independence, and it's really improved the quality of my life, and I'm really happy with it.
So, Fernando, how long a period did that take from the time you wanted to get a van to the time that you actually got it and it was all modified and you were on the road and ready to go?
Well, when I got the van ready, I had to take my driving classes, you know, and that took about a month. And I did that in Ventura. Doctor from Ventura came and showed me the appropriate way to use the van. So that took about a month. And since then, I've been driving for 9 months. Before I actually could drive the van, it took about 6 months. But actually, when it did get here, it wasn't quite ready yet. And so, you know, we had to get the power chair, the controls had to be put in, the knob, the special seat belts like a harness, you know, to protect me from the chest down, things like that, before I could actually start driving it. Because the law requires special things. So it took the process took a little longer. And it was so hard, I had to be patient and wait for it. And, you know, I had to take driver's ed and get my license, and I was so excited. Ever since then, I've been driving. And now I just feel so independent. I'm happy with it. And it's important for my life because of my paralysis. I can do anything that I want now.
So tell us a little bit, kind of day to day, what are some things you're doing in your kind of daily routine, places you're going? How often are you in your van, I guess?
Mostly I drive it every day. I get so excited to go out with my friends. I take it to school. So I go to college. I go to Cuesta College. I've been there for 3 years. And, you know, it just depends on my mood. I can just drive wherever I want to go. You know, if my mom needs something, I can go get it for her or take her somewhere. It just depends on what we need. And, you know, I go out and have fun with my friends. We enjoy ourselves. It just depends on what our plans are, you know. Using it more and more, it just enables me to be so independent, you know. And like I told you, we went to Las Vegas in it, and I drove to Santa Cruz to see my friends.
Tell us a little bit about how you get into the van and where you put your wheelchair while you're driving.
I use the remote to open the door, and then the ramp automatically comes down. I put my chair onto the ramp, and then I transfer myself into the driver's seat, and then I just leave the wheelchair in the back. Usually I do lock the wheels though, because it bothers me, you know, it's a lot of work, like to try to move the wheelchair around and stuff. So I put the wheelchair behind the seat, and you know, sometimes it'll hit the seat while I'm driving, but I've kind of gotten used to that, so I just ignore it. And then I'm ready to drive. It's really easy.
You mentioned some of the customizations that you've done since you got your van. Are there any that you're hoping to add in the near future? What other things would you like to do to trick out your van a little bit?
Well, I don't even know if I should tell you this, but it really matches my taste, you know, matches my personality. I'd like the... before I had smaller lights on the top of the van, but my friend Jeff showed me that they make these bigger lights and they're stronger and they were so cool, so I said great, so we put those on the top. And then, you know, I've got the rims on the tires, And there's lights on the rims too. And then I've got my radar detector so I know when the police are coming. I have music. I had to try 3 different times to find the right kind of music to set up in the car, but now I've got a stereo system in there. Yeah, I really like cars a lot. Right now it's kind of like half a van, half a car, so we'll have to see what it's going to be like in the future. I'm really looking forward to adding a lot more things to it.
Are there any changes to the vehicle that you might do to make it easier to drive, or does it feel like it's perfectly easy to drive right now and you don't need to make any changes?
It feels fine right now, actually, the van does. I just have the one van, but you know, in the future I might like to have different vehicles that I could choose from to drive. We'll have to see what happens.
Well, thanks for telling us a little bit about your van and the modifications you've done. Sounds like you've really been enjoying it. It's had a huge impact on your life.
Yes, if anyone out there is disabled, or you know, you can see that I am successful in my van, and maybe you can come for a ride with me sometime. You know, if you need a van or if you're disabled, there's all kinds of things you can do. So, but you know, it's really fun to be able to be independent. You can enjoy yourself so much. But I'll let you know that'll be a lot of fun. You know, when my friends ride with me, they know my personality and they know, oh wow.
But she's hard of hearing. Isn't that right, Mom?
Yes, but
so when I call, she might not hear the phone ring or what I'm saying.
Yes, but...
But then we got this amazing free phone. It flashes lights, it rings like a fire alarm, it has the volume of a jet engine. If you need a phone like this for free, call the California Telephone Access Program.
Oh, I love the phone. I just wish there was one for children who have trouble listening.
We're here now with John Villa, one of the other owners of Adaptive Driving Systems. And John, I know you guys do more than just modify vans, so tell us what you can do with the PT Cruiser here.
This is an all-manual system. It is available as a power system, but this one was designed for a child or somebody of a smaller stature because we don't get a lot of room in this particular vehicle. But we open it up. Kind of reminds us of Back to the Future a little bit. And then we have a manual ramp that comes down, which allows our wheelchair access. Well, what we do is we remove the shifter that's in the way right now for the transfer, and we provide an electronic shifter. So now we can move the seat back, do a straight across transfer, move the seat back forward, and drive from the regular driving position.
So there are other cars that can be modified as well. I've seen Elements. Are there other cars than those two?
You're going to make me go there, aren't you? Yes, there is the Element that's available. And we had, for a little while, the Toyota Scion in a rear entry version. Scion was kind of a fun mom and dad car with a single child, possibly. No seating for anybody else. The Element is the nice car. Honda makes a wonderful car that way. I'm just not crazy about the conversion. So that's why you don't see one on my floor here.
And are there any other vehicles any other standard passenger vehicles that can be modified? Or I imagine they can all be modified for a price, but the standard modification?
Not typically, no. I mean, we do some one-off things. We'll take some hot rods. We did a 56 Ford panel truck and lowered the floor. It's on a Cadillac Eldorado chassis. Nice. So being front-wheel drive, we can make it like our minivans. And the person drives from the wheelchair. And so yeah, we got another guy in a 23 T-Bucket that we've modified. So, and you'll see him cruise the Tascadero and Paso Robles. So we do some one-off things.
Okay, Johnny, so we're in a full-size van. Tell us a little bit about this one.
This particular van is set up for a quadriplegic, somebody who doesn't have a large range of motion or strength. So hence all this extra goodies you see in here. This particular floor is lowered 4 inches to give us enough height for the person in the wheelchair to be able to see out the windshield like you and I would sitting in a regular chair. It has a lift that hides underneath the floor, so we have full access to all the room inside the vehicle. Again, she can be a passenger or a driver, so we can remove or replace the factory seats over the top of these plates in the ground, or they can lock in their wheelchair in either position and be a passenger or driver. What we have here is what we call an AVET system by the EMC Corporation, and they basically do all high-tech driving devices. This particular one, we steer with this little wheel, and our gas brake is by this lever here. And then all of our secondary controls that you and I would reach with our hands are brought over to this little touchpad. So our ignition, headlights, wipers, park, neutral, reverse, all of our shifting is done on that touchpad, as well as our windows and also our turn signals. So we can take all of the systems from the vehicle and the multiplex through our little touchpad here. This particular person doesn't have a great reach because her hands are tied up in both units here. So we've added in an extra little button over here that through means of touching that button or doing this right here, we get 8 tones, and each tone is a function of, say, wipers, turn signals, anything that's a secondary control. So again, she never has to release her hands from the wheel or the brake, but she can function everything that needs to be functioned while we're driving.
Wow, very impressive. And these easy lock systems that you have in here, she has a corresponding receptacle mounted on her chair?
That's correct. In layman's terms, it's kind of like a fifth wheel hitch. So we have a bracketry that strengthens the wheelchair with a pin that hangs off the bottom, and it's accepted into each one of these black plates on the ground and automatically locks the chair down. Everything we do has been certified and crash tested. So therefore, you can turn this vehicle upside down many times, the chair is going to stay put. So providing the occupant wears their seatbelt like they should, everybody should be as safe in this vehicle as they are in a standard vehicle.
Wow. And then this vehicle obviously can only be operated by this individual with specific disabilities. Is that correct?
That's not correct. This particular vehicle can be taken out of what we call AVET mode and put back into a standard driving mode by means of turning a switch off that turns the CPU off, and then we disengage this little yellow knob underneath the steering wheel, which puts us back to regular steering. So if we become impaired or sick or something happens on a trip, these seats are interchangeable side to side, so we can take the passenger seat, put it over in the driver's position, wow, set ourselves up for able-bodied drivers, and get to our destination or wherever it is we need to go. First, we're going to wake the screen up. Then we're going to turn the ignition on. Then we're going to ask the car to start. From there, we're going to go to our boot up mode for our driving system. So on this little screen, it's asking me to turn the wheel right so we can engage our steering system. Now our CPUs are going to go through a boot up section that's going to test all parameters to make sure that it's safe to drive. And once it gets through the boot up procedure, it's going to ask me to do a couple of inputs so it sees and reads the inputs and again makes sure that we're safe to drive. It's going to ask me to brake, it's going to ask me to accelerate, and it's going to ask me to steer right and left. And if it's happy, it's going to quit beeping at me and it's going to tell me everything's okay and we're safe to drive. So at that point we would put on the brake, shift in whatever gear we need, and take off.
Very impressive.
So it brings our disability out of the realm and we're just as free to go as everybody else. Well, John's now sitting on what we call a UVL, and that stands for under vehicle lift. So what this platform does is it lets again, the interior of the van be totally clear of any type of lifting device. So when John's not on it and we're traveling down the road, this particular platform stows in a cassette underneath the vehicle. So John now has the remote in his hand. He's going to demonstrate what it's like to take a ride up into the vehicle. Right. He's going to push the up button and see what happens. Our barrier is going to come up, and that's going to keep us from rolling off the lift while it's in motion. Once John's to the top, the lift will automatically stop. He lets off the button, and he can motivate himself inside the vehicle. Now once John's in and he's getting ready to go into the driving position, he would push the stow button on his remote, and that's going to make the lift disappear and hide underneath the vehicle, and then the doors will close after it's stowed. Now let off the button, say goodbye.
See you later. So are there disadvantages to having a cassette underneath your car?
The disadvantage to this particular lift, of course, is curbside parking. We can see that there's not a lot of ground clearance with this, so we do not curbside park with this particular lift. We do always park in an accessible spot, or people with a power chair, we always say, can park out a little further, and take 2 spots and go ahead and do on their day. So for John to come back out, he's going to push the word up and hold. All sequential. As long as he holds the button up, everything will do its little job like it's supposed to. And then once it's up, he'll push the word down. It'll take him down to ground level.
And can these be added to an existing van, or do they have to be a lower drop floor kind of van?
It can be added to any 3/4 ton or up, so 3/4 or 1 ton, Ford or Dodge, but no more General Motors. We can do early General Motors. Hi, John. How you doing?
Keep going,
cool.
John.
You can, you know, kind of take your time.
Yeah.
Stop at each
Wanted
level.
to stay high for a little bit.
3 people.
Very nice.
There we go. One
Very
full
good.
cycle.
Yeah, it's a very nice
Very
machine.
secure.
Very good.
All right. You're welcome.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode on vehicle modifications, and we'd like to thank Adaptive Driving Systems Jerry and John Villa for taking the time to give us a tour of their company and telling us more about how vehicles can be modified. We'd also like to thank Fernando Ramirez and Joe Militia. We appreciate Fernando sharing his story and giving us some insight into a specific way in which a van can be modified.
And don't forget, at Central Coast Assistive Technology Center, we have services that are available that are provided through a grant from the California Endowment that allows us to provide, demonstrate, and loan assistive technology specifically for individuals with visual impairments and hearing impairments and who are deaf and blind. So we'd be more than happy to see you at our center. We're used only by appointment, so please give us a call at 549-7420. And as part of the program, we also have the California Telephone Access Program that offers free phones for folks with disabilities. So give us a call and come on and see us.
We'd like to close today's episode like we close every episode with showing you our friend Maisha Thomas using the motorized beach wheelchair down at Avila Beach. And to remind viewers that you can check out this beach wheelchair by giving the Marine Institute down at Avila Beach a call and reserving a time to use it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.